Good lord, I just jizzed my pants because it's week 7 NFL review time. Cleveland versus Denver. Baker Mayfield missed this game due to overexhaustion from filming too many Progressive commercials, so it was Case Keenum's time to shine. If Keenum versus Teddy Bridgewater sounds like a boring matchup, that's because it is. What we ended up getting was a pretty boring and forgettable 17-14 Browns win. Cleveland had a 10-0 lead at halftime while Teddy Two Gloves crapped all over himself. Denver never got the ball in the second half when the game was within one score, and they continued to be the worst possible type of NFL team. A team that's bad in the win-loss column and bad to watch. It's blatantly apparent the head coach and quarterback of the future are not on the roster. As for Cleveland, Baker is going to be dealing with a shoulder injury all year long, so they will probably fall short of my AFC Championship game prediction. Fucking A, I am so goddamn oppressed. Tennessee versus Kansas City. We are officially at the point of panic for Kansas City, who fell to 3-4 after this embarrassing 27-3 loss to Tennessee. As a Mahomes fan and somebody who even ranked him as the second best quarterback of all time this offseason, I can't defend his performance the last few weeks. Unfortunately for Mahomes, when he plays badly, he doesn't have the defense to bail him out. He's in a slump, and it was bound to happen at some point after his historically dominant first 3 seasons. I have no doubt he will bounce back from it, but I also have no doubt his defense will continue to be absolute dog shit. Tennessee completely destroyed them in the first half to take a 27-0 halftime lead before basically just sitting on the ball and draining the clock in the second half, or else they would have given up even more points. The Titans are now finally starting to live up to the preseason expectations after a rocky first few weeks. If Tennessee's offense is firing on all cylinders, no offense to John F. Kennedy like they have been the last few weeks, they could absolutely make the Super Bowl. New York Giants versus Carolina. Remember those 3 weeks when Carolina beat up on shitty teams to start 3-0 and people revised history and said Sam Darnold was actually good? Well, guess what? They were fucking wrong! Darnold still sucks major ass and was so bad in this game that he got benched for backup quarterback Philip Walker, who happens to be black. I just want to say thank you to Matt Rule for ending racism forever by doing this. Imagine losing 25-3 to the Giants. Seriously, they've been the worst team in the league over the last 5 years, and you ended up getting spanked by them. You'll be absolutely stunned to know that Tom Brady gets to play this team 2 times this year. Wow. As for the Giants, you obviously will take any wins that you can get, but does beating Sam Darnold really count? Not really. It just means you suck a little less than you thought. I always get on Denver for being both bad and boring, but the Giants are like the NFC version of the Broncos. Thank goodness for Red Zone and Buff streams, or else I'd be stuck watching this shit franchise on cable every week for the last 20 years. Green Bay versus Washington. A pretty uneventful game. Both teams started off scoring touchdowns on their opening drives, then it got boring until Dallas Buyers Club member Aaron Rodgers threw a touchdown just before halftime to give Green Bay a 14-7 lead. The game essentially turned for good when Washington quarterback Taylor Heineke was strip sacked deep in Washington territory to start the second half. Green Bay capitalized with a third Rodgers touchdown pass to go up 21-7. Then the game got interesting. Washington would get inside Green Bay's 3-yard line on each of their next 2 drives down 14, but came away with 0 points each time. It appears Rodgers momentarily learned Tom Brady's ability to will his defense to goal line stops. Wow. After Green Bay added a field goal to go up 24-7 early in the fourth, the game was essentially over, as they ended up holding on to win 24-10. After a dreadful week 1, Rodgers has arguably been the best quarterback in the NFL over the last 6 weeks, and if Green Bay can beat Arizona on the road on Thursday Night Football, his MVP candidacy will explode. New England versus the Jets. I picked New England to win this game because the Jets are terrible, but good lord, I did not see, well, this. New England scored 7 touchdowns and 2 field goals and scored on all but one of their possessions on their way to a 54-13 win. It was essentially a perfect performance from a team that's better than their 3-4 record, losing extremely winnable games to Miami, Tampa, and Dallas. People always compare Mac Jones to Tom Brady because they were both drafted by Belichick to the Patriots, but people aren't capable of critical thinking and morons. But in reality, Jones plays a lot more like Chad Pennington, who, when he was healthy, was actually pretty good. As long as Jones can stay healthy and give the team above average play, New England will see success in the post-Brady era. New York, on the other hand, is fucked. Zach Wilson got hurt and will miss 2 to 4 weeks, which I don't even know if that's a bad thing considering how much he sucks. Computer-generated Madden quarterback Mike White, not to be racist, replaced him. Seriously, is there a more generic name than Mike White? New York just traded back for Joe Flacco because they have so little faith in him. Robert Saleh does a great job looking like Xerxes from 300, but his coaching sucks. Congratulations, Jets fans. Atlanta versus Miami. For the second game in a row, the Falcons held off a furious comeback attempt from an AFC East opponent to win the game. Gee, where the fuck was this 5 years ago when it really mattered? Tua was actually not terrible in this game. He threw 2 interceptions still because he stinks, but he made up for it with 4 touchdown passes, including a go-ahead touchdown with 2:27 left. But on this day, Matt Ryan had it going, dropping several bombs to the uber-talented rookie tight end Kyle Pitts, including one on the game-winning drive. After looking washed to start the year, Ryan has quietly been playing really well the last 4 games. Of course, this is pretty much how it's always been with Ryan. When he fucks up, people laugh, and when he plays great, it goes unnoticed, largely because he's kind of boring to watch and has no outstanding physical traits. Even when he won MVP in 2016 with an historically dominant season, people were making arguments for Derek Carr, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and Gisele's husband, who was suspended 4 games for cheating, over him. But to answer all your questions, no. I still don't trust Atlanta, and Brian Flores is probably going to be fired since Miami has arguably been the most disappointing team this season. Cincinnati versus Baltimore. It might be time to start taking this Bengals team seriously, as they went into Baltimore and beat the shit out of a really good Ravens team 41-17 to improve to 5-2. I want to apologize to Jamar Chase for saying he was a bad pick, as he is currently off to the best 7-game start to a career by any wide receiver in NFL history. Perhaps I was also too harsh on Joe Burrow, who has had a massive statistical jump in year 2 after an overrated injury-laden rookie year, although his stats to me are still better than the eye test. I want to wait a few more games before fully buying into this team, but they are easily the biggest shock, no offense to Ted Bundy, of the season. As for Baltimore, they're still sitting pretty at 5-2 and they'll still be okay, but it's tough to not feel like shit after they took a 17-13 second half lead at home and then gave up 27 unanswered points to end the game to a division rival. Maybe it's just karma for being named after a book character written by who married his cousin. LA Rams versus Detroit. The Jared Goff revenge game ended up not going that well for Goff and the rest of the terrible Lions, but early on it looked like Detroit could potentially pull an upset in LA, much like the Jets did last year, taking a 10-point lead early in the second quarter and a 19-17 lead entering the fourth. LA finally woke up to win by 9, led by Cooper Kupp, the wide receiver in the NFL I want to marry my daughter the most due to his gritty work ethic and sneaky athleticism. Hunter Renfrow is second in both of these categories. Kupp continued his dominant season with 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. Haley Joe Osment doppelganger Matthew Stafford continued his MVP campaign with 3 touchdowns and no picks. With LA at 6-1, Stafford putting up MVP numbers and Detroit falling to 0-7, Stafford fans have to be on cloud 9, as their agenda that Stafford was held back by Detroit is looking to be pretty good. In reality, I think Stafford is still the same quarterback he's always been, but he's benefited from a genius like McVay in his ear scheming him easy throws. However, I will say if Stafford beats Brady in the playoffs, I will personally fly to LA and kiss him on the lips, and also do everything in my power for the rest of my life to make sure he makes the Hall of Fame someday. Arizona versus Houston. The best team in the NFL versus arguably the worst team in the NFL went about how you'd expect. Houston actually had a 5-0 lead early in the second quarter before Arizona realized they were playing the Texans and reeled off 31 unanswered points to win 31-5. MVP frontrunner Kyler Murray threw 3 touchdown passes, and cancer survivor James Conner, did you know he used to have cancer? Ran for an 18-yard touchdown. One of Kyler's touchdown passes was a 47-yarder to the newly acquired Zach Ertz, which I'm totally not salty about as an Eagles fan. I'm not angry, okay? Why is everybody looking at me? Arizona looks to be legit and they are dominating in all 3 phases of the game. In my opinion, the difference has been J.J. Watt, whose unparalleled troop-respecting abilities have unlocked the potential of the rest of a talented roster. Las Vegas versus Philadelphia. Las Vegas is now 2-0 since getting rid of famous computer user John Gruden, and unfortunately this week they beat the fuck out of my Eagles, who fell to 2-5. Outside of one errant throw that was picked off, Derek Carr was basically perfect, and this game was over after 3 quarters with Las Vegas taking a 30-7 lead entering the fourth. Jalen Hurts did what he does best, which is stat pad in a blowout loss, to make the final score a more respectable 33-22, but I've seen enough of him to know that he's not the guy long term. Somebody said he's like Jason Campbell, and I hate that comparison is correct. I will say Hurts gave us a great moment when he fumbled near Las Vegas' goal line at the end of the third, and based on the camera angle, it looked like he pooped out the ball. The poop fumble sounds like a worthy sequel to the butt fumble. Las Vegas might be 5-2 right now, but I still don't trust them. I won't let them fool me the way I let my ex-wife fool me into not signing a prenup. Tampa Bay versus Chicago. Tom Brady did it again, folks. Just 1 week after winning a game where his average completion traveled 3 yards in the air and 64% of his yards came after the catch, he got 6 possessions, yes, that's right, 6 possessions in this game that started on his opponent's side of the field. What a fucking hero he is. Did you know that 31 of Tampa's 38 points in this game came off of short fields? Brady completed just 47% of his throws that traveled beyond the line of scrimmage, and shamefully patted his his stats with several goal line touchdowns, and he was even trying to pad his stats even more by throwing the ball up 30 late in the second half. But the sad part is, I'm not surprised by any of this. Chicago is a terrible offense with a terrible head coach and a terrible rookie quarterback. I knew Brady's defense would get a few interceptions and force a few fumbles, and they did. Almost 40% of Brady's touchdown passes this season have come off of short fields, which is by far the most of any quarterback that gets mentioned in MVP talks. I implore all of you to not fall for the Brady hype that gets peddled nonstop all the time by the national media. Let's just cut the shit right now. Tampa's going to finish either 16-1 or 15-2 and win the Super Bowl again, with Brady doing the bare minimum and getting put into the most ideal situations imaginable for the umpteenth time. Eat Arby's. Indianapolis versus San Francisco. Contrary to popular belief, the field in this game wasn't soggy and slippery due to rain. It was from every single woman in attendance squirting at the mere sight of handsome god Jimmy Garoppolo, who heroically returned from a calf injury. San Fran got off to a 9-0 lead and looked primed for an easy win, but two sprains Wentz wouldn't allow his team to quit, fighting back to give Indy a 13-12 halftime lead. Overall, this was a very ugly game with countless dropped turnovers. Wentz himself had a hilariously brutal turnover in the red zone, but he still wasn't as bad as Jimmy, who, outside of one touchdown drive to start the fourth to make it a 2018 game, was terrible. In the end, Indy won 30-18, and San Fran looks like they're about to have their fourth awful season in 5 years under Kyle Shanahan. You can't help but wonder how much more slack Shanahan and John Lynch continue to get for the 2019 season. New Orleans versus Seattle. Oh, what's that? Jameis Winston versus Geno Smith on Monday Night Football doesn't sound appealing to you? Wow, congrats on being a racist. This game had two really exciting plays. An 84-yard touchdown pass from Geno to DK Metcalf in the first quarter, and a nifty touchdown pass from Jameis to Alvin Kamara on a bobbled snap late in the first half. The rest of the game was extremely boring and forgettable. The entire second half scoring consisted of just 2 field goals, one from each team. The first was a 50-yard field goal by Seattle to tie the game at 10 in the third, while the second was a 33-yarder from New Orleans with a minute 56 left to go up by 3. This might shock you, but Geno Smith was not able to lead a clutch drive to send the game into overtime, and Seattle dropped to 2-5 with their season essentially being over. Sean Payton has somehow done the impossible